you a letter too, which makes you to be a debtor. I know you probably haven't watched TV. There's a couple on Saturday evenings called Mad TV. There's this character on there. Her name is Mrs. I can't remember, but she's Oriental. Funny.
A super busy Waffle House on Christmas time weekend. And then this amazing old diner. Found this remarkable abandoned diner in somewhere in Georgia, I guess. I think it was on Highway 64.
That's a pig. Check it out. Wow. Diner companies usually somewhere around the vestibule they put a tag, like a plaque. Open for business.
So we stopped to investigate the abandoned diner for a few minutes.
Nice piece of real estate.
Obviously, is a guest who's moving right sometime. Blue building this morning.
This is not Jimmy Carter's.
Okay.
The real thing, half mile ahead. Pecans. Man. We used to travel for miles just to take pictures of signs like this. Now that's a postcard right there.
Yeah.
In the proper light. Hey, some pretty nice looking pyracantha here. So that's the draw.
Okay, so here is my first trip to Summer Rest Road. Bert had told me all about Summer Rest Road and his life as a child, and this is my first time coming up this road, and I'm pretty emotionally moved by the whole experience. It's such a beautiful place and so similar to exactly where I lived in Ocean City, New Jersey, right next to the Back Bay.
Wrightsville Beach, right there ahead of us. And there's a little back bay, and then the beach is out there, and then the rest of it's the Atlantic Ocean. And we're turning onto Summer Rest Road, which is a road that was named by my grandfather and his wife, Dovey. Everybody called her Dovey. After their house had burned to the ground, their house, I think it's over this way, had burned to the ground, and they made a new house. this. Wow, look at this marsh. Look at the ducks, look at the wood ducks. God, it's so beautiful here. I used to paddle around on a toka styrofoam in the water just like this when I was growing up, 5, 6, 7 years old. Picking crabs off of pilings and falling in the water.
So we roll up the road a little ways, hunt around for the house, have a look at the pretty water. It's their third house from the end. Third house from the end. 1, 2. There it is.
It's got bicycles. It looks like my house. Lee is here. Okay, so just down the road that way is the site of the former...
It's right at the curve. You can see that tree. Looks like it's sitting in the middle of the road.
Right.
Well, that's where I was born and raised, in that location. And that was the family home. And when we were all away one day, it burned down. I guess I was a sophomore or a junior in high school.
Wow.
And our mother got called by a neighbor she was informed that the house was gone.
Now, when did your daddy die?
He died in 36.
So that was,
I was 13.
13. That was a few years before that,
And
then.
this was 2 or 3 years later. And when she was informed that the house burned down, she called the school and had somebody in the office inform us that our house had been burned down. But we had arranged a place further up the road for us to live for the night.
Man!
So we got off the school bus down at the end of Summer Rest Road, which is about twice as far as from here to that tree. And we were walking up the road, and it really looked different because that was a big old 2-story with porches all around it.
Wow.
House built in 1880 something, built by my uncle Ashley,
Ashley?
who I never knew. I knew his wife Sue, but he died before I was old enough to know him.
Now, so how many of these houses were sitting here at that point?
This one was, the next one was, and the next one was, and the next one was.
Okay.
In a row here.
Okay.
And they've all been refurbished and improved over the years, but they're all original Summer Rest Road homes. And the brick one that's just before you get to the curve down there, that was there, built in the early 1900s.
Now, the original Bowden property extended down in this direction down here?
The original Bowden property extended all the way from the road that goes over the bridge for 2 miles in that direction. It included all of what is now Landfall.
Landfall, which is this big swanky development.
Yeah. You can buy a lot in there for $1.5 million.
Oh, okay.
But I think the zoning requires you have to spend $4 million on your house at least, or something like that.
Wow. So now this place was smaller
This place
originally?
was smaller. It was just a 1-story house. And my mother started turning it into a nursing home and taking in nursing patients. My mother was a nurse.
Now, was she doing that at the other house as well, or
No.
that began here?
No, at the time the other house burned, this was Depression years, and she was working in Wilmington at a WPA. Does that mean anything to you?
Oh yeah, sure.
And a WPA.
And the CCC may mean something to me too.
WPA established child care centers where they would bring in kids and they would take care of them all day and cook them 2 meals, breakfast and lunch. And she was running one of those in Wilmington at the time our house burned down.
Wow.
But I was on my way to, hey, you got a bumper sticker just like mine.
Isn't it funny how that works out?
It's funny.
And this is 411.
Yeah.
411. And so how long were you here? Till you headed for St. Petersburg?
I was
maybe.
here until I headed for St. Petersburg.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I graduated from high school. I was living in this house, and I went and caught the train to St. Petersburg and was in the maritime school and traveled around the world in the merchant marine over and over, and always came back here to visit, but never lived here since I graduated from high school.
Uh-huh.
Well, when I graduated from high school, I went to work at the shipyard, and I went and became a welder. I was only 17, and they wouldn't let me do anything without my mother's signature.
Which shipyard?
The North Carolina Shipbuilding Company in Wilmington, North Carolina, right here.
Right underneath the bridge.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I drove over that. So I could smell you in there somewhere.
It was a branch of the Newport News Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company, which is still Newport News Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company, owned by Tenneco for several years, and now has split off and has become Newport News Shipbuilding. And they built the aircraft carrier Enterprise there, and
Wow.
the nuclear submarines are built in 2 places. One is there, and the other is the electric boat in New London, Connecticut. And yeah, but the North Carolina Shipbuilding Company closed down.
So you stuck some steel together here and there.
I actually sailed on one of the ships that I welded on.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
William D. Mosley was the name of it. I have no idea who William D. Mosley was, but the ship was named for him, and I welded the bilge brackets. The bilge brackets, as the ship comes down and turns like that to go to the bottom.
Sure.
The bilge brackets are these brackets that keep the wall and the floor tied together.
From flexing and stuff, yeah.
And they have a bilge bracket about every 1.5 foot, every 18 inches or so, and it runs down the side of the ship and across the floor at the bottom of the hold, and it requires a sizable weld. You have to,
Sure.
I think it requires about a 1/2 inch weld,
Uh-huh.
all the way down and all the way along on both sides
Wow.
to withstand all the stress and stuff.
Well, my best friend Bill, who I bought that van from very recently, is a union boiler maker.
Oh, really?
So he spends a lot of time crawling around inside the steel, cutting and sticking.
You got to follow me to the beer fruit juice.
Okay. With or without scraped banana peels.
But when I moved here, it was so convenient to go over there to hunt squirrels, because that whole area over there, which is now all those big houses, that was about 2 miles straight up the waterway and about 2 miles inland. It was all virgin forest with several lakes that were very attractive to ducks and geese. And I used to get up here before day in the morning, and I would just climb over the fence right there, and I was in my own hunting ground. And I would hunt. I would get up 4 o'clock in the morning and make a great big pot of oatmeal and eat the whole thing. And then I'd be in the woods until about 4 p.m.
Wow.
with nothing to eat and starving to death. And I'd come back with 2 or 3 ducks and 6 or 8 squirrels. And
Regardless of the school situation.
yeah, regardless. Yeah, that's right. I wasn't very good student.
Well,
I remember when the principal told me I should.
you were a born teacher, that's all.
Principal told me I should drop out and go into automotive mechanics. I'm not cut out for academic things.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to the wrong place. This is his son, and he has been a commercial fisherman.
Oh, okay.
And they drop anchor out there and pull up all kinds of things.
Uh-huh.
And that could well be something to be brought up. Are you ready for another beer fruit juice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Da-da-da-da. Are you calling me fruit juice?
Oh, well. The islands were,
Wait a minute. When you were a kid,
when I was a kid,
it was marsh from where to where?
from here all the way to Wrightsville Beach.
There were no inlets. There was no open water. You mean?
There were a couple of little channels where you could go through,
right.
but it was all marsh.
Uh-huh.
Two channels. There was no open water.
Wow.
And during the Depression, I guess it was in the early 1930s, they decided they were going to build the inland waterway from Maine to Mexico. And this is a piece of that. The dredge boat came and sat there in the marsh and chewed up the marsh and threw the dirt over there, which is now where all those trees are. And that was nothing but barren beaches over there. When I was like 15, 16 years old, I'd go over there and there was nothing but sand. And look what has happened since then.
Well, I haven't been over there yet, but it looks like there's some serious construction.
It's all woods. No, there's no.
Oh, you mean that little spit right there? That little
island right
yeah.
over there.
Okay.
And then on the other side of that, that's Wrightsville Beach.
Right. Okay.
And there is some serious construction.
Yeah. Okay. So but that little strip of land there was just sand. There was no trees or anything.
Yeah. Well, it was actually marsh before they made the channel. When they made the channel, that's when they built the island. Have an open cerveza.
Thank you. So what parts? How many times did this house get added to? Or was it just once, all at once, kind of?
No, it was two different times. This front part was finished before that back part that sticks out in the back. And my mother used it. She had, I guess, as many as 8 beds upstairs.
Uh-huh.
And 6 or 8 downstairs. And the fire inspectors were giving her all kinds of problems with it being a frame building, and they wanted her to put in an expensive sprinkler system, and they wanted her to change her hot water system, and they wanted her to do a lot of things. And okay.
Hi, Mitzi. Hello.
And she talked to me about maybe building a nursing home on the old homestead property.
Wow.
Instead of doing any more to this one. And we talked about it, and we looked at the financing and figured that the way things looked, it was a very profitable thing to do. And so she got the funds, and I think it cost, for the original nursing home, I'm sure it cost $60,000. Wow. That's what it cost. And it was a brick nursing home and had 28 or 30 beds, something like that. But it was just right down here at the turn. That has been added on to twice since then, and it's now over 100 beds. And my brother was administering it when she decided to step aside. She was kind of rescuing him. His career wasn't doing too well. So
When was it started? When was it built?
let's see.
You can be approximate. I mean, decades.
I'm just trying to remember where I was when it was
Uh-huh.
built. And I
Oh, I
think I
see.
was still in Norfolk, Virginia.
I see.
And I left Norfolk in '63, so it was in the late 50s.
Uh-huh.
And it turned out to be profitable, and she got the loan paid off very quickly. And then she invited her son, my brother Jimmy, to come down and work with her, and ultimately he wound up administering it. And then he decided to retire, and he leased it to Brithaven, which is a nursing home chain.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if it
So it's no longer Bowden Nursing Home.
No, it's Brithaven now.
When did that change?
Oh, I guess that changed a year or two after my mother died,
Uh-huh.
which was all these years run together.
Yeah, yeah, that's all right.
Where was I? was in Boone then, and I guess it was about 84, 85.
All right, well, it's cold out here. Why don't we go inside?
Oh, okay, let's go inside.
And I'll take all the pictures.
This is the beginning of the family reunion music session. I'm going to cut it off here.